Blake Lively has told people that there were multiple reasons that Justin Baldoni made her feel uncomfortable. It's a feminist buzzword. Uncomfortable on set. Blank was the co-host of the Man Enough podcast alongside Justin Baldoni. And then as soon as Blake Lively filed her complaint, Liz Plank was out, instantly said she quit, a show of support and solidarity with Blake after everything dropped. And people began looking into it. And particularly there was this TikToker, Steph with the Deets, who had showed that perhaps the reason that motivated her to get on the side of Blake Lively without actually looking into anything, or at least speaking to her co-host and hearing his side of things, may have been what we have discovered since, a repeat sort of Ryan Reynolds psychopathic strategy of essentially love bombing. So Liz Plank was a perfect person for them to go after, because first and foremost, if you don't know anything about her, I had never heard her name before this scandal. She's kind of branded herself as
Hollywood is once again on edge after a dramatic development involving outspoken commentator Candace Owens. According to reports, Owens has circulated what she describes as a list of individuals allegedly tied to Blake Lively in ways that could expose damaging secrets. While no official confirmation has surfaced, the suggestion alone has rattled the industry, sparking relentless speculation and forcing insiders to question what, if anything, might lie beneath Lively's polished public image. Complicating matters further, an old interview from Glamour UK in 2009 has resurfaced. In it, Lively admitted she initially disliked the casting of Penn Badgley on Gossip Girl, even claiming she tried to turn her fellow castmates against him. She later recanted, saying his authenticity eventually won her respect. Yet, not all cast members recall such hostility. Taylor Momsen, who shared scenes with both, stated she never witnessed tension between the two, fueling questions about whether Lively may have embellished the story for dramatic effect. But the controversy doesn't stop at revisiting the past. Crisis consultant Jed Wallace has launched a defamation suit against Lively, arguing she falsely accused him of orchestrating a targeted online smear campaign. He insists the accusation damaged his career and reputation, setting the stage for a contentious courtroom battle. At the same time, Lively's own legal filings introduce a separate dispute. She alleges that a man entered her private room while she was breastfeeding. Conflicting accounts, however, suggest she may have allowed him involuntarily, leaving outsiders unsure whether the moment was a violation of privacy or a misinterpreted incident fueled by tension. Adding to these layers of scrutiny are new workplace complaints. Reports claim that while filming A Simple Favor, assistant director Barbara Seaman nearly resigned due to what she described as Lively's difficult on-set behavior. These allegations of a toxic environment, if substantiated, place fresh pressure on Lively's professionalism and treatment of colleagues. Perhaps the most unsettling account comes from a former intern named Jamie, who recalls a moment nearly 2 decades ago during press for the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. At just 20 years old, Jamie was assigned routine tasks, including handing out water bottles. She barely interacted with Lively, yet later found herself accused of behaving like an overzealous fan and making the young actress uncomfortable. The accusation blindsided Jamie, leading to reprimands that made her fear her career had ended before it began. For her, the experience was both humiliating and haunting, and for today's observers, it raises deeper questions about whether this was a one-off overreaction or part of a troubling pattern. Taken together, Owens's rumored list, the resurfaced interview, the pending defamation suit, the breastfeeding dispute, workplace hostility claims, and Jamie's unsettling memory paint a complex and messy picture. The narrative forming around Blake Lively is no longer about a single controversy but rather a growing web of contradictions, power struggles, and unanswered questions. Hollywood now faces a difficult reckoning. Is Lively a target of exaggerated attacks and opportunistic lawsuits, or has a carefully curated image shielded behavior that is only now being challenged? One thing is undeniable: the storm surrounding her shows no signs of slowing down, and each new revelation chips away at the flawless star persona she spent years building.
Because it represents our collective awakening, specifically to celebrities that we should not be idolizing. And they hate that.
So do you feel free now to try everything? What is the next 5 years? Well, in terms of trying, Did you
see the movie?
I did see the movie. But
we're going to give you a pop quiz.
We're going to give you a pop quiz every minute of it.
Blake Lively's troubles have now escalated into one of the most closely watched legal clashes in Hollywood. She is set to face off against her co-star Justin Baldoni in a trial scheduled for March 2026, a case already generating massive headlines, with insiders whispering that even more A-list names could be dragged into the proceedings before it's over. What initially appeared to be one legal battle is quickly snowballing into a full-blown reckoning, forcing the industry to take a hard look at both her public image and her past behavior. Adding fuel to the fire, new allegations from the early 2000s have resurfaced. An anonymous production assistant claims Lively regularly belittled junior staff, creating a workplace atmosphere charged with tension and intimidation. In a similar vein, a colleague from a well-known talk show recalled an unsettling moment when Lively allegedly refused to be interviewed by a junior reporter, insisting only a senior journalist was acceptable. Industry insiders described the move as a calculated display of power, reinforcing perceptions that she was quick to assert dominance behind the scenes. Legal commentators warn these resurfaced accounts could complicate her defense in the Baldoni case, since character and credibility often weigh heavily in the court of public opinion. And the court of public opinion is already shifting. Friends who once spoke out in her favor are now silent. A source close to Lively revealed that one of her most trusted allies, someone who publicly defended her in the past, has completely cut off communication. She's been calling in favors, but nobody wants to get involved, the insider admitted, suggesting that even longtime supporters fear being swept up in the fallout. Her professional relationships are showing cracks as well. A stylist from the mid-2000s described Lively as exhausting to work with, claiming she frequently demanded last-minute wardrobe overhauls, forcing entire teams to redo looks at her request. What some viewed as creative control, others saw as relentless micromanagement that drained everyone around her. The ripple effects are becoming impossible to ignore. Major studios once eager to attach her name to high-profile projects are reportedly stepping back. One major film deal she was pursuing has stalled, with executives privately acknowledging that the risk of working with her now outweighs the reward. Even brands that previously touted their partnerships with her are said to be reconsidering endorsements and campaigns, wary of being pulled into the negative press cycle. In what some describe as a last-ditch effort, Lively has allegedly reached out to top crisis management firms. But according to industry chatter, at least one high-profile executive refused to take her on, calling her situation too volatile to fix. For a star once considered one of Hollywood's most bankable figures, this rejection underscores just how dire her circumstances have become. Even the red carpet, where Lively once reigned as a fashion icon, reflects the shift. Sources say she has been noticeably absent from recent high-profile events, with invitations slowing to a trickle. While she hasn't been formally blacklisted, the message is clear: she is no longer considered a must-have presence at Hollywood's most glamorous stages. As legal showdowns loom, old stories resurface, and her circle of allies grows thinner, one reality is becoming impossible to ignore. Blake Lively, once the picture of Hollywood perfection, is now navigating a public and professional reckoning. The question is no longer whether her career will be affected, but whether this storm will permanently redefine how she is remembered in an industry that thrives on image but never forgets scandal.
Interview by Blake Lively, and in her interview, she admitted to trying to poison the cast of Gossip Girl, which is where she made her name, against her co-star Penn Badgley, who played her love interest, Dan Humphrey, on the show. She said, "At first I was so upset that they had hired him, I actually poisoned the whole cast against him." And she goes on to say, "But then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a nice, charming person. And almost immediately I realized it too. But it took me about a week to admit it." And here's the thing. Reports were that Blake Lively and Leighton Meester, who played best friends on that show, were not friends during the 6-season run of the show. Leighton Meester and Penn Badgley and other Gossip Girl co-stars have remained silent in the wake of the Baldoni legal drama. Neither Meester nor Badgley.
The fallout surrounding Blake Lively is spreading far beyond courtroom filings and gossip headlines. Reports now indicate that a major fashion label, once proud to feature her as the face of its campaigns, has quietly paused their partnership. According to one blunt industry insider, brands want stars who attract admiration, not lawsuits and controversy, and right now, Lively no longer fits the bill. It isn't just corporations pulling back. Hollywood's most influential names, some of whom were once seen dining, vacationing, and walking red carpets with her, are now stepping aside. A veteran PR strategist revealed that several top-tier celebrities have instructed their teams to avoid being linked to Lively during this volatile chapter. In a city where alliances are everything, that kind of distancing can be career-defining. The consequences are visible across every layer of her public life. Even her fans, once fiercely loyal, are beginning to splinter. Social media timelines have become battlegrounds, where defenders clash with disillusioned supporters who now question whether the star they adored was ever authentic. One viral post captured the sentiment, "I used to love her, but all these stories make me wonder if we ever knew the real Blake." That doubt, spreading among her base, may prove harder to overcome than any lawsuit. Meanwhile, behind the curtain, her team is reportedly scrambling to keep the narrative under control. A crisis management insider explained that the real challenge is speed. The scandals are multiplying faster than her team can respond. And those scandals keep surfacing. Former colleagues and crew members have stepped forward to describe her as distant and dismissive, claiming she often brushed off lower-level staff unless she needed something. While such stories can be debated, their consistency paints a troubling portrait of her off-camera persona. Overlay this with the explosive legal drama involving her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, complete with accusations of on-set misconduct and counterclaims of orchestrated smear tactics, and it's clear the stakes have never been higher. What began as a single dispute has grown into a storm threatening her entire legacy. But perhaps the most unsettling shift comes from within her own circle. Taylor Swift, one of her closest and most famously loyal friends, has yet to comment. In an environment where silence is often louder than words, observers are asking whether Swift's restraint signals private doubts, or if there's a deeper story that hasn't yet been told. Still, not all of Hollywood has turned its back. Actress Jenny Slate recently spoke out in Lively's defense, reminding everyone that the industry remains divided. Some believe Lively is being unfairly targeted, while others suspect her carefully built image is finally cracking under scrutiny. Now the question isn't just about Blake Lively's career. It's about perception, loyalty, and truth in a world where narratives are shaped as much by headlines as by hard evidence. Can she rally support and stage a comeback? Or is this the moment her reputation becomes Hollywood's next cautionary tale? One thing is certain, this saga is far from over. Lawsuits, power struggles, and industry fractures continue to unfold, and every new revelation forces audiences to choose a side. Do you believe Blake's story, or do you think the real truth has yet to emerge?